S&OP should be receive the most higher level attention. So myself as the head of the company, my CFO, my head of supply chain, and the manufacturing, basically all needs to be there.
Okay.
And
it's a must, right?
Yes, and the head of the sales. So therefore, that's why we say a significant part of the we call the Excom meeting actually is already dedicated to as a prelude for the subsequent S&OP. And
Selamat siang rekan-rekan semua. Dalam kesempatan yang sangat baik ini, kita mencoba untuk diskusi dengan one of top leader di industri metal di Indonesia, yaitu Bapak Yan. Bapak Yan ini adalah sebenarnya expatriate dari US, tapi sudah menjadi seakan-akan sudah menjadi warga Indonesia karena more than 10 years already. Jadi sudah sangat mengenal Indonesia, sudah paham sekali di industri ini, bahkan sangat kenal Jakarta Selatan. Pak Yan now is CEO of BLUESCOPE Indonesia, and BLUESCOPE Indonesia already implemented Sales Operations Planning. I think you know that BLUESCOPE Indonesia is one of the best company in Australian company, one of the biggest steel company in Australia. So we can learn best practices in here because we already learned from the FMCG and then airlines industry and then material building. So this is I will discuss and explore more.
Okay.
Pak Yan, thank you for coming to share your thought and insight regarding the sales and operation planning. Could you please share regarding the implementation process in the BLUESCOPE Indonesia so far, and how is important that process as top leader is in here?
Okay. I think BLUESCOPE has implemented the S&OP process probably 2 to 3 years ago, and it also has been a learning process, for us, because for us as in the industry, it's a B2B industry. So we are, what we produce is a product sell to other customers that are produced, further turns that into a product which sell to the end consumer through the channels. So a lot of areas can affect both the demand side of it, in terms of volume, in terms of what type of product, right? And then on top of that, the end product has a very specific requirement impact on the raw material in terms of thickness, in terms of width. So and we make the situation more complicated. The lead time is very long, and especially when our raw materials are to be purchased overseas, imported. You can imagine we call it cold roll coils, and typical supplier lead time is 2 to 3 months, and then on top of that there's a shipping and the custom clearance at another 2 to 3 weeks. So you're talking about generally when you place an order for raw material, it's actually for you to use 3 years from today. So in another,
it's very long,
very long supply chain cycle, and so therefore you have to have a good visibility of your what you're going to be selling 3 months from now, and if the planning is wrong, and then it will be very disastrous, because on one hand you will have a demand that you cannot fulfill and a missed opportunity. On the other hand, you have a lot of raw material or inventories that doesn't move, and which create another set of problems, right? So it's a really big challenge for us to continuously refine to increase the accuracy. We started probably, I think a year and a half ago, we were in the 60% accuracy, which is quite poor. And in the last 12 months, we're able to improve that accuracy to the upper 70%. So still not good enough, but it's very good. It's getting better.
So S&OP process in here is just started when you came, or?
No, it's actually started probably a year to 2 years before I started already. Yeah.
But last year when you came is and then concise the process is so the forecast accuracy is built around.
I would say probably go through a cycle of a forecast accuracy deteriorated, and then we have to look at what's the reason of that and improve. And the reason it deteriorated is it worked well at the beginning is because the market demand, we had quite a good understanding of the market demand, and our customer profile is relatively simple. We have 1 or 2 major customers, and that's our equivalent to 80% of our sales volume. So you just need to talk to these 2 customers, make sure that you understand their needs, and then that's it, right? Then you can, and also at that time, probably if you look at the 3 years ago, we do very little import of our raw material. We buy from Karakata Steel next door, which typically we only keep. We had a good arrangement with KS where we only keep 3 days of inventory.
Oh, okay.
Right, so that normally we do a blanket PO, and then when we ask them to deliver, they deliver, and then within 3 days, this material already been consumed.
Like a just in time.
Yes, so it make it looks, quite good now. But then the challenges is, KS is not a very competitive steel company. So you were paying a huge margin on the compared to the import. The cheapest source we can get. And unfortunately, in the last 18 months, the market become increasingly competitive. As we discussed earlier, the trade war between the China and the U.S. and also slow down the excess capacity in China itself during its own economic slowdown. So has become driving a lot of product into Southeast Asia, and so make the domestic market increasingly competitive. And so therefore we have no choice but to also be competitive ourselves. Then which require us to, from a sourcing point of view, can no longer only rely on one, and then we have to start multiple sourcing. So suddenly we're dealing with a supply chain, as I mentioned. It went from 3 days to 33 months. And that's number one. Number two is also our customer profile is changing. One of our top customers actually become our competitor. They decided to invest in a coating line themselves, and so we are forced to diversify our customer base, and instead of have 2 customers occupies 80% of your, it become like maybe 20 to 30 customers that fill up that. So it's a lot more complex to understand what these 20-30 customers would need, right? And so these are the kind of things we have to adapt and learn. That's why the performance or the accuracy deteriorated to a 60%, and then but after a lot of the changes of our process understanding, and then we were able to get it back to a better this 75 to 17, I think around 75% level. Definitely still not good enough. In the steel industry, the margin is thin, so you need to get to at least around the 85% level for
the forecast accuracy.
Yes, for the accuracy. Otherwise, the cost of inventory, the cost of it's too much.
To procure the raw material is very long.
Yes.
How long the average of the lead time for the raw material?
It's typically from the time we place the order till if it's an import, we are importing till where they can supply from overseas, ship whether from Vietnam, from Taiwan, or from China. It's already like 60 days.
60 days.
That's the best case scenario. Some suppliers need 90 days to produce the lead time, and then from there you have to add another at least 15 days for shipping for sea freight. So you're talking about 2.5 months to 3.5 months.
So at least we have to fix around 3 and 5 months in advance, right?
And so with that, there's 2 things number one, you have to be able to predict in terms of what you need, thickness, width, quantity, and that's number one. Number two, there's also a risk of between the mismatch between demand and the supply, because typically customer doesn't want to play order stability, but we need to predict 3 months, right? And another complexity on the steel market is highly volatile. In 3 months, the price can go up or can come down quite a lot. So if it's on the down cycle, you have a lot of inventories on your hand, and then you are in a very big,
So with the
trouble.
condition, the market is fluctuated, and then also the raw material we have to fix 3 months in advance.
Yeah.
So what do you think that S&OP is really urgent for?
Yeah, S&OP is very, so we without a doubt the importance of S&OP is established, right?
Yeah.
But the challenge is how do you do the S&OP in this type of a particular industry with the unique nature?
Yeah.
How do you do it that to get that accuracy?
Yep.
And it's definitely compared, for example, when we were at the Jaya board, and it's definitely different type of because your raw material is not homogeneous. Where Jaya board we can use the same paper, same chips, and making different product. Right here you cannot.
It's more.
I cannot change the thickness. That's number one. The second is the fluctuation of the price is not. And so one of the things we actually have done differently is in the beginning when remember when I say the deteriorated, we have a process. A typical process would be in the beginning of the month we look at the pricing, we do a pricing meeting, and then a week or two later we do a demand planning meeting. So based on this pricing, we say salespeople, you go out there, and then we ask them another 10 days later to tell us what the demand will be next 3 months, and if they are over conservative, we'll say no, not good enough. So they have to throw numbers what is, and then at the end of the month we do the S&OP. So as you can see, too many meetings, and also a lot of the numbers are all over the places. So one of the key changes we did is we combine the demand planning.
Demand planning and supply planning to be one.
We put the demand planning actually at the beginning of the month, and around like a week at the end of the week 1, and then we put the S&OP at the end towards the end of the month, around the end of the week 3. So you have about 15 days difference in between, and also we no longer only rely on the sales people's input to basically on the demand. So what we actually are. And S&OP, because historically S&OP has been an exercise between supply chain and
commercial
and the salesperson, the business side of the. And what in this business, what we find is actually we didn't have the manufacturing input. So what we did differently is we actually put the manufacturing input in that. So what's different now is we looked at in the S&OP. So the S&OP and the pricing become one meeting because it's very important. Is you look at the previous month's price intake, and then you look at the movement. As a management team, we have to make a decision. What do we believe this pricing is going to be like, right? And what are the product which you have many different products. Some are using for roofing, some are using in truss. Which product we can be the most competitive, because that also depend on where the sourcing we can get it, right? And then from there, then together with the manufacturing team, we say, okay, we looked at the portfolios we have. We say, okay, we're going to aim at this. Then we decide the pricing actually there. So then you decide the pricing there. You tell the sales team basically say, okay, these are the customers, these are the product you want to focus, because most of the customers, they want everything. They want a different range of product. But what we decided is let's not try to get all of their needs. Let's just focus on the one. For each customer, I just want one thickness, maybe 2 different colors of that particular thickness, and then we want to order, get the majority of that order of that, and then you focus on that. and then have a follow-up feedback meeting, not the whole scale, but select and then to validate what the decision we have made, and that is one of the key things. So S&OP is more than just planning. It's basically not only is to anticipate, but actually it's to create how to create the demand. And then if you create the demand, you are in control of the demand, then you have much better accuracy.
So this is interesting, sharing that in BLUESCOPE here. So you combine like all meeting in together, let's say for the sales operation planning, because the industry is really unique. That's raw material is significantly drive the price. So also commercial decision take in this S&OP also. I think this is really good one, because this practice is different in other industry, because let's say for the plasterboard is, we know that it's not really connected because the price is already contracted in a year, and then so you can just play the pricing not including the supply side. I think this is the challenge sometimes when we implement the S&OP is how to increase the quality of the S&OP itself. Not just a regular meeting, checklist is okay, done, but actually this is not really contribute to the business. What is your sharing to increase the quality of the S&OP process in here?
And that's very interesting, very good question actually. Once when I first started a year and a half ago, a year 3 months ago, the S&OP meeting is a big meeting. We have like 22 people in the meeting, from sales, from supply chain,
it's the big room, right?
And from finance. But the quality of the meeting is it's a big room, and then also then you have 60% people in the room, the other 40% on the telephone. And so after attending, I think 2 of those, my question is, why do we need so many people? And then so it turns out to be, it was intention was like to develop people, so we start dragging more and more people. So number 1 is inefficient, right? Number 2 is when you have too many people, you actually no decision, no quality decision. In a way, today I can tell you the most effective S&OP meeting, the real true S&OP meeting. So we have actually, I call that we have 2 S&OP meeting. The real efficient S&OP meeting actually is a company's we call the leadership team meeting, or in Java we call the Excom meeting. That was the real one. That's one already decided what is our selling strategy, what is our producing strategy, what is a product making strategy is in the next basically next 90 days. You decide that, and then you refresh that every you don't just decide and then say stick with it, because the market's changing, right? So and then you adjust, you're making that adjustment, and as I give you and then the normal S&OP meeting is a mere validation, and then drive downwards execution. And also now the meeting size is a lot smaller. We probably have around 10 people, 10 12 people, half of the size. And then
all departments.
All the sales, supply chain, and then manufacturing, and the commercial. Commercial is finance. So 4 department plus basically myself, and so each department, let's say 1 or 2 person. That's why I would say about a 9 person, 10 person kind of. And then you drive that, because it has pricing component in there. So it also has marketing, right? So it has marketing, has it's a mere execute and the validation, for the true sort of high level S&OP, which is the Excom meeting. It acted as a very important part of S&OP.
So to encourage or to get more engagement with the team, what the consequences? Let's say one of the team is not joined to this meeting, and then what?
I think that basically actually it goes back to that, right? If you really think about it, the true essence of S&OP meeting is probably the most important. Just by the name itself, That's the most important, sales and operation.
Sales and operation.
That's basically our entire business operation.
Yes.
Right? But unfortunately, I think a lot of companies, the way they executed that, S&OP is it's like a formality, normal monthly safety meeting and all that. So become a more formality. So no wonder the quality is not good, right? The outcome is not good. So if you really, doing this meeting for the essence of it and then really treat it as it is supposed to be, S&OP should be receive the most higher level attention. So myself as the head of the company, my CFO, my head of supply chain, and the manufacturing, basically all needs to be there.
Okay.
And
it's a must, right?
Yes, and the head of the sales. So therefore, that's why we say a significant part of the we call the Excom meeting actually is already dedicated to as a prelude for the subsequent S&OP. And usually I'm on vacation. If they organize it, I will dial.
Telecom.
I will dial in.
Okay, this is a good practice that because we know that S&OP is a top-down like strategy, and I think you put this is like really obligation for us. Even you committed 100% to join. It's a good one. Let's talk about the issue. What is what they call it, like major issue that overcoming the S&OP process?
Oh, it's it's a lot. Remember I mentioned about, so there's a long supply chain, the international trade, and then the fluctuation price. And if you think about it, our how do you think this way? Our raw material price now is coming down quite a lot. So our CRC price compared with last November, December last year was at the peak. The October, November, sorry. So between October and now, the difference is about $100 a ton. Okay, so this is a huge difference because probably more than 100, 120, 130. Our monthly consumption is 15 to 20,000 tons. So I take the low end number, 15,000 tons times 100. That's a 1.5 to 1.8 million dollars difference. So if we imagine if you planned it wrongly, and then you stuck with some very high cost inventories on your hand for 4 or 5 months, which has happened. And now you're trying to sell it when the price is down like that. The loss is it kills you. This is the type of things. I never felt it in Jayapur because we're very fortunate. We don't have that kind of fluctuation. But I tell you that's my pain on a daily basis. And that's one. And the second is, on top of that, to make the situation worse, Indonesia, you know about that, getting the SPI is another challenge, right? You also have to predict a few months in advance. And if you, we know there's a big difference. So if you took an order and suddenly, due to improper planning, you have a shortage of certain gauge product. Let's say even the total tonnage you have it, but you don't have the right product you need it. Then what do? You have to buy from local supplier, which also costs you $80 a ton more. And imagine you have to order 3,000 tons, which is only 20% of my monthly, right? For this 1 month, because I planned wrongly on this one. I did not have either I did not have the order, have the supply, or I have the supply but I did not have the SPI to import it. Then what's happened? You have to buy something that's $50-$70 more. That costs you 3 billion IDR just like that. On a 20% margin of error will cost you 3 to 5 billion IDR easily.
So the discussion during the S&OP is the impact is really huge.
It's huge. It's huge, right? So that's why I say 20% can cost me 3 to 5 billion. 40%. Imagine when we're at the 60% accuracy. The 40% error can cost me like 10 billion.
So this is another interesting discussion with the Pak Yan, that because this is the metal industry, is the really many complexity in the sourcing, in the also the regulation, and also the customer that really fluctuated. So this is S&OP is really
it is the key. By
key.
No doubt, like I said, S&OP is basically the you're planning for the livelihood of this company.
Yeah.
It is definitely not a supply chain tick the box responsibility.
That's right. That's why when we implemented it in Jabot at the time that I bring these ideas to the not for part of supply chain, but it is like CEO of the company, right? Because it will impact on the other business.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then in here, who will arrange or conduct the preparation of the S&OP and meeting and then progress minutes of meeting?
So the supply planning team actually are
under
the ones. Yeah. So the under supply chain and the supply chain responsibility, they are the ones actually prepare. As the meeting organizer for the S&OP. So they will and then what the and then what another important things another important why we put the pricing meeting and the supply plan meeting together is in our business the absolute pricing is actually not so critical when we do the pricing meeting, because pricing fluctuate up and down anyway.
Yes.
Just because I'm selling lower today versus yesterday doesn't mean I make less money, right? It's actually the margin, the spread. So the margin, the spread is not decided by the salespeople alone. It's by supply chain, right? So it's very critical, and you analyze that correctly, and then also the margin and the spread of the actual